Have you ever seen high performers slowly dim their lights just to fit in? Or leaders that are avoiding hard truths in order to stay liked? Or some team members that are holding back innovation because they don't want to leave others behind? In systemic work, we know that such situations are expressions of something deeper. And that deeper is pull of belonging. Every human system is built on fundamental principles: belonging, order, balance. We can add to this also fundamental principle of having a reason for existence. We will talk about all of them. And today we are talking about belonging. Every member of a system has a right to belong simply by just being part of the system. In practice, this means that whoever was born into our family is part of our family system. That's easy to understand. But in organizational systems, that means that part of our organizational systems are all those people who were part of the system anywhere in the past or in the present. We all belong. We are all part of the system. And if all people that are belonging to the system are respected, then the things are going okay. We have problems when we are starting to forget some people, to ignore some people, to disrespect some people, to exclude some of them. And the system, of course, then reacts to all those exclusions. It is not also just about the people. System remembers everything, all events, all products, all initiatives, everything that was in our past. And if, for example, we don't want to talk about that product launch 2 years ago that was a total disaster, it can happen that our system will in the future, on some new product or on some other occasion, remember us about that, what we excluded from the picture. What we are sometimes seeing in organizations is that the new hires underplay their strengths to avoid standing out, or that the team unconsciously is slowing down to stay aligned with some team member that is struggling, or the team leader is avoiding decisions because, again, unconsciously he wants to avoid disrupting of that emotional alliance they have as a team. When such things are happening, we are usually saying as leaders that we have the lack of ownership or that we have low engagement, but we are actually misreading the signs. Below the surface, all this, what I just mentioned, are actually loyalties to inclusion. It is important to know that people will unconsciously sacrifice their performance, their energy, even their truth in order to stay included. That's not human weakness. That's the survival mechanism. And we as leaders need to be aware of that, and also the fact that whatever we are pushing out and excluding from the system will find a way to bring back, to compensate, sooner or later. When thinking about which story to choose for this topic of belonging, I decided to go with one general story that will be of interest, I hope, to the most of you, because today it is very rare that in the bigger companies we all are on one location. Usually what is happening is that we have one main location, one headquarter, and then several remote offices that can be anywhere in the world. I worked in my past in two companies that had such distributed workforce. And in both of them, there were some issues on those remote locations and how the people on the remote locations were feeling about their belonging to the company. So I will start with explaining what was happening, at least the cycle that I've noticed, because I was really working a lot with all remote locations. In the first company where we had that, so it was 6 locations plus the main one. And I was a lot of time traveling to all of those locations, speaking with the leaders there, speaking with the employees there, trying to find ways how we can be better connected. I have noticed that there are actually phases how employees are behaving on the remote locations. When the employees are just starting with their work on the remote location at first for a shorter period of time, they are trying to catch up everything what is happening on the main location and other locations, and they are okay. Then the second phase is when they are starting slowly to complain a bit about their status, about how they are not important as much as some other people are important, or how their location is not as important as other locations are, and so on. Usually in this second phase, those complaints are not strong, and usually there are some kind of jokes that they are making around that. If you do nothing, then the things are going to the third phase. In the third phase, then those complaints are even louder, and it can already happen that some people are leaving that location and are finding jobs somewhere else. Or the worst is if they stay and then they are going to the last phase, that is that they are actually there, but there is resentment within them and they are not engaged as they were at the beginning. And for sure, this is the situation that we do not want to happen. Why is this happening? I was also investigating a lot. This is happening because a lot of important meetings and also a lot of important decisions are happening on one main location. Even that we have leaders on other locations, but when something really important is happening, they are all gathered on the main location where there is the most support for such things. All new initiatives, all new announcements, all marketing campaigns, everything is started from the main location, and then other locations are informed or just included. But from their side, from the eyes of those who are working on the remote locations, they are feeling that they are not included fully. What I was doing is that I was really traveling almost each week. I was on another location, working with people, being there, trying to understand also how are things from their perspective. And in that first company, I was also making other leaders to travel, to be as much as possible time with their people on that location and to try to find their ways how they will include all parts of the team. So we were doing rotation of meetings. We were doing also some very important initiatives to start on some other location. And there were a lot of attempts to make things better. In the second company, where there besides the main location, there are also 2 additional locations. Again, I was every week on some of the locations, And even that was not enough for the people in my team on those locations. But I couldn't do more of my presence there. In the second company, founders were monthly visiting both remote locations. And also in the time when traveling was not possible because we had that coronavirus, we had bi-weekly meeting that was not at all about job, about projects, about company. We had just bi-weekly meeting where the all members from the remote location had the founders online, and it was time to chat, to connect, to feel that you really belong. I think that it is very important for today's leaders to be fully aware that people on the remote locations really wants to be fully included. And it is our job to do that. And one pizza party every 3 to 6 months is really not a solution. Although some leaders think that with that they just did their care about the remote locations. No, I don't have bulletproof perfect solution for this issue. But what I'm advising based on my experience, and I think it is working good, is that you do a plan of all the activities that you have in the next half of the year or a year. Include all the meetings, all the announcements, all the planned releases, all launches. I don't know what your company is about. Put that all on the paper and then divide all those important things, important events, important meetings to all locations where your team is. And then stick to that. I know it will be hard because it is a lot of logistics. Also, it is the plan that requires much more money, so it is not as efficient as it would be if all the things would be done just on the location where the majority of people are. But I think that on a long run, it pays off and it's worth it. So I did it, and still I'm saying it is not a perfect solution. You will still hear from the people that they are not fully included, but it will be much better than if you do nothing or if you do just one pizza party every few months. At the end, I would like to say one of the quotes that I once got from one person on the remote location, and that really stayed with me for a long period of time. And that person told me that he's feeling like the child that no one wants. I really think that we shouldn't let any team member to feel that way. In the story that I've told you, I was talking about people that are sometimes complaining, but I didn't stress enough that there are people that never complains. They are just silent. And also those that complains at the beginning with the time can become silent. Silence is not acceptance. Silence is not agreement. And in the living systems, silence is rarely neutral. Usually, silence means resignation, disconnection, some quiet protest. Yes, you can have silent teams for months or for even years. And yes, they can work and deliver, but they've stopped offering their full energy and their creativity, not because they do not have energy or they are not creative, but because the system has told them that they don't fully belong. Silence in this sense isn't peace. Silence is invisible exclusion. When people feel that they belong, then they bring themselves fully. But when they feel that they do not fully belong, system starts to leak energy first quietly and then loudly. One of the very important rules of a systemic leader is to sense exclusion. So as leaders, we need to shift our ear and listen to what is missing, what's not being said, who hasn't spoken lately, which themes are missing from the important conversations. When we learn to listen to what's missing, what's not here, what's maybe excluded, then we are becoming capable of restoring a true belonging. Yes, belonging is not a soft concept, but it is a systemic precondition for loyalty, contribution, and flow. Connect with your organization or your team and try to sense it. Where do you sense disconnection? Where do you sense low energy? Where do you sense quiet withdrawal? Who gets invitation to the important conversation? And who doesn't? Are they people or events or stories that you shouldn't talk about? These aren't questions of blame, but these questions are helping you to see something that was up to today invisible to you and to bring that back into the whole. Because this principle of belonging is non-negotiable. And when someone is excluded, then the system keeps making the noise until they are seen again.